Okay, are we ready? Did you prepare your homeworks, guys?
I did
Yes.
prepare my homework. I did not write anything up, but I prepared my homework. Yes.
Okay, who would like to go first?
I can do that.
Please.
Okay, so I referred to Al-Wahidi's Asbabul Nuzul. I found an English translation. Um, and in that it just basically goes through every verse for which the Sababul Nuzul is available. And so I picked the verse from Surah Nisa, verse 34, so 434, the infamous wife beating verse.
Do you have in front of you the verses and stuff that you can share with us the screen?
Oh, yeah, sure, I can do that. Hold on.
That
Okay,
will
can you
make
see
it
my
easy.
screen? You can see yourselves basically. Okay.
Yeah, it is coming, I guess.
Okay, so yeah, let me just go over the verse quickly, just the English translation. So men are in charge of women by.
No, I can't. I see. Okay.
Oh, sorry, I'm just gonna. Yeah. Men are in charge of women by right of what Allah has given one over the other and what they spend from their wealth. So righteous women are devoutly obedient, guarding in the husband's absence what Allah would have them guard. But those wives from whom you fear arrogance, first advise them, then if they persist, forsake them in bed, and finally strike them. But if they obey you once more, seek no means against them. Indeed, Allah is ever exalted and grand. So, first of all, the translation itself is problematic. And some of those words, some scholars have argued, would not be translated that way. But anyway, that's a whole different issue. So, looking at Al-Wahidi's Sababul Nuzul for this verse, said Muqatil, I'm not sure who that is.
Muqatil bin Sulaiman, he is a very famous, one of the first Mufassir, the commentators of Quran.
Oh, okay. So he said this verse, men are in charge of women, was revealed about Saad ibn al-Rabi, who was one of the leaders of the helpers, and his wife Habiba, both of whom from the helpers. It happened that Saad hit his wife on the face because she rebelled against him. Then her father went with her to see the Prophet, Allah bless him and give him peace. He said to him, I gave him my daughter in marriage, and he slapped her. The Prophet, Allah bless him and give him peace, said, let her have retaliation against her husband. As she was leaving with her father to execute the retaliation, the Prophet, Allah bless him and give him peace, called them and said, come back, Gabriel has come to me, and Allah, exalted is He, revealed this verse. The Messenger of Allah, Allah bless him and give him peace, said, we wanted something while Allah wanted something else, and that which Allah wants is good. Retaliation was then suspended. Which I found very interesting.
Yeah, I have never heard this narration.
Yeah, so I don't know, like it sort of made me think, oh, was the Prophet sort of, he had it the first time, I don't know. And then Allah came and said, no, hold on. Slow down.
It's interesting because I
Sharing the
watched.
screen, Moise.
What's that?
You can stop sharing the screen.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
So it sees only our face only. Yeah.
It's interesting because I saw a video of, what is his name, Nuran Khan or something like that, and he was telling a story which would connect with that. So that seemed to be he was telling a story about that verse about a a couple which was kind of fighting constantly, and then the man losing his temper, and then then they would go to Muhammad, peace be upon him, and then Muhammad was enlightened, and then the idea was coming up that in case you lose temper in that one time in a extreme situation, Allah still will be merciful. So that's interesting. This is really interesting because it is one of the most controversial verses, in my opinion, or in the at least in the Islamophobic controversy. This is one of the key verses which is always discussed, always, and therefore this source is really interesting. You said that what is his name? Al-Wahidi. There is a collection of all the
Yeah, hold on. Let me just send it to you. It's a very nice PDF.
super.
And
Super.
all of the verses, there is Babul Nuzul. I mean, whichever verses have them.
This is awesome.
Have been and in very nice chronology. I mean, the order of the Quran itself. So you can literally just search for.
Yeah, this is awesome. This is awesome. So that's something I always wanted. This is perfect. This is blessing. Amazing. Super. It's interesting. It's super interesting that Allah is actually canceling retaliation.
Yeah, exactly. And in a sense, I mean, even though I think it might be a broader sort of interpretation, maybe if you actually follow this order of verses, we don't know what was the steps that guy took before hitting his wife. So was Allah saying that what?
Do you see any steps from the narration? Normally when you approach the narration, it seems generally you should just generally you should go what it is. So in this narration, is there any steps? Is there mentioning of any steps or anything? No, right?
No. So it just says that this happened, that he hit his wife.
Like we should check the Arabic. The translation is really trustworthy always. I have the Wahid. I'm sorry. I have the Wahidi Asbab al-Nuzul in Arabic actually, but I don't know at the moment where it is. I can inshallah find and check the narration. But the thing is, with this only this information at hand, even and assuming the translations are correct, both Quran and the narration. So, what do you think?
Well, yeah. I would challenge that whether the Quranic translation was fine the way it is. But anyway, assuming that that's okay. Yeah, I found it interesting that the Prophet's first instinct was different.
Yeah. That's an important point, right? There is second important point, very important point. There is another one, which is the behavior of the father.
Okay.
So what we were taught from the traditions and culturally, when a father gives in Jahiliyyah, so-called the ignorance time of the Arabs before Islam, when they would find when they would find a husband for their daughters would stop being part of their family. Daughter would be part of the family of the husband, which we still have it in my culture. This still exists. And when something happens to daughter, the father does not necessarily intervene this easily. So from the narration, it seems the woman was beaten. The woman was beaten, and the father. It's strange. It's very strange to me. And father felt that this is wrong, and he took the woman to the to prophet. But from other narrations, we see actually. That's why I'm not sure about this narration, to be honest. Just 2 weeks ago, I guess, we discussed this verse in class. We were discussing the verse and the other stuff, and there was an important thing there. One of my teachers said that the verse says you can't beat your wife. I said, how come? The verse says you can beat your wife. He made a very good explanation. He believes that the meaning of daraba in that verse means beating. He says that this is the verse. Still, he said that the verse in a way brings two different stages for before beating, to make the Arabs accept that actually normally beating wife is unacceptable, and in this way verse actually prevents beating the wives. So because they would not go through any stages, they would just, something happens, they would just go to beating, even basic stuff like not having not enough salt in the food would be enough reason to beat. So this kind of situation, it was the case. Generally, we know from the other sources that women did not have any saying, women did not have any value. There is another possibility. Maybe the woman is from a very, very, very high family. We need to, do they mention any name for the?
Yeah, so her name is Habiba bint Zayd bin Abi Zuhair.
I need to check her as well. If she was a very important, from an important Ansar, apparently they are from Ansar family, right? Helpers. He was. Yeah, they are from Ansar. It means they are from Medina. If they were from Medina and they had already culture there, not to beat, that's something else. But from the narrations, again, we see beating was a normal thing, and it would happen right away, that without. Do you hear me, Christian?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I hear you. Yes, I hear.
So that was the main thing if they would do. That's why the verse seems delaying the beating at the last source. I personally also, when I translate this verse, I also personally translate it as beating. I can't. You can give different examples. I am not saying that's not possible, but from this verse, it seems the verse is about beating. But we don't have only one source in Islam, right? Do we have only one source?
For what?
For our behaviors, do we learn only from Quran, or do we have any other source for it?
Well, Hadith, I guess.
We have Hadith. Although it is debatable, definitely, but still we have Hadith. And from Hadith, we see that there is not even one Hadith that Prophet or any big scholars, big Sahabas beat their wives. There is none whatsoever. So if this was, and even there is few hadiths that Muhammad alayhi salam is trying to divorce one of his wives.
Let me add something to the discussion. It's really interesting. I just went into Google, and you don't believe who was the husband. The husband was Abu Bakr.
Oh.
There is she is one of the 4 wives of Abu Bakr. She was her whole name was Habiba bint Kharija ibn Said ibn Abi Suhair, and she was from the tribe of Banu al-Harith ibn al-Khazar, and she had Kulthum as a child. I found that on the Wikipedia family tree entry of the Wikipedia, the family tree of Abu Bakr, and there's another.
But the husband's name is given in this sabab.
Yeah, but well, I just googled the name, and
what does it say, Mo, is there?
The husband's name is Sa'ad ibn al-Rabi. He was one of the leaders of the helpers. But the word helper is not translated as Ansar, it is translated as Nuqaba.
From Nuqaba?
Yeah, one of the leaders of the helpers, in brackets Nuqaba.
Wait a second.
But maybe she divorced. Maybe if she's the same person, possibly this marriage didn't work out, so she divorced and she might marry to Abu Bakr, maybe.
Okay, maybe.
No, that is possible because we know it happens. Like Zayd was married with Zainab, and then it didn't work out, and then they divorced, and the Prophet married Zainab. We have other sources that this happens. Moise, you are frozen.
Yeah, I'm still around, don't worry. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what
Yeah,
else do you know
I can't.
about
I
the
can't.
nation?
I,
So,
yeah, I can't find there's no more sources right now. Yeah, I'm sorry.
mm, well, we can also see that Prophet ﷺ had different approach for this. He kind of thought that qisas is necessary in this situation. The woman beating the husband back was necessary for this situation. But and then he says we decided something, and then God decided something else, and God's decision is the best. And then the qisas is cancelled. But Ya Allah. Yeah, it seems that Prophet's decision and possibly even father's desire was the same, that qisas would take place, but Allah cancels it. But if Allah cancelled it, then does it mean that the guy actually first warned the woman and then did and then separated? Still, it didn't work. Then he did this action. If it is not, then still the actually qisas is it should be in place because the guy did not follow the law.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But also, if the law was not set yet, like, can you
If
be
the law is
guilty of
not
a
set yet,
crime
then the qisas still takes place.
according to the previous law?
Yeah, which previous law Muhammad gave which was qisas. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
If there is let's say Muhammad, the law was qisas, and then this verse abrogated that law, but the event happened before the verse. So in both way, if we consider events that happened before the abrogation of a law, still follows the new law because the punishment did not take place still, or it follows the old law. If it follows the old law, then qisas is necessary. If it follows the new one, then the new one says that there must be stages. Did the guy take the stages? No. Then the qisas is necessary again. Do you see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Is the qisas necessary again if the guy didn't follow the stages? Like,
yeah. If
Okay.
if you beat your partner without following the stages, then you commit zulm, oppression, and الحر بالحر والعبد بالعبد. Everything with the equal with the equivalence of it can be punished. So you did something unlawful, you did something that it was not your right, then you have to be punished for that, which is the same thing that happens to you by the other person.
Right.
Do you see do you follow?
Makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, which is interesting then. So, like, I guess even the Sababul Nuzul is doubtful and debatable, considering that it doesn't resolve this issue.
Yeah, it seems it doesn't resolve.
Well,
Thank
but
you.
on the other side, from my perspective, the incident happened, and then the father and his daughter came up to the Prophet. The Prophet ruled and said, "Well, let her have retaliation about it." And then he got the verse, because he says later on, Muhammad says, "Come back, Gabriel has come to me." So that would mean that he got revealed the verse, and according to the verse, Muhammad said, well, there shall be no retaliation. So obviously, it might be that that the incident was in a way that the steps were followed, and therefore there was no
Yeah,
retaliation, right?
possibly. Yeah, it seems so. Otherwise,
It seems
Muhammad
so.
alayhi salam would not give something against the law. I believe
Yes,
so, but
yes.
the hadith does not mention anything.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The tradition does not mention anything. Anyway, it was a nice tradition to see the most controversial one of the most controversial verse in Quran.
You
Yeah.
expect nothing less from me.
No, that's nice. That's nice. But what did you feel before when you were reading to us? You said that the translation is debatable. What did you mean by this?
So I was just earlier today looking at Quran and Woman by Amina Wadud. And in that she obviously discusses this verse, and like basically like sets every individual sentence in context. So uh, she asks, in what are men given a higher daraja or place than women? And she points to the fact that it's only in the inheritance law that the Quran makes a distinction between giving to men more than what God has given to women.
Also witness.
Okay, and witness, yeah. But because the next part of the verse is, I think, talking about spending from their wealth, maybe it's sort of linked to that. So she says that it's not just in general, like applied to all cases that men are always given control of women or given charge of women. And then the second thing that she says is that this word obedient, I forgot what the actual Arabic word is used there. That it's too easy to translate that as obedient, which makes it sound like the woman should always be listening to the husband. What's the word in Arabic?
قانتا.
Which I think is more like sort of linked to the concept of devoutness to God rather than
Yeah,
just.
actually, it is generally seen as what is the term called? Like
Pious.
pious. Yeah, that's true. That's pious, and the when we say the fearful of God. In that sense, it can be used as well.
Yeah, and then she also said that the word daraba, she doesn't translate that as like physically beating. And she says that there are two different words. One is darba and one is darraba.
Yeah.
And so the second one is this definite like physical violence, but the first one can also mean something that's like a metaphorical sort of admonishing rather than a physical.
Yeah, but that's true. That's true. But with a human, in Quran, in Arabic, the verse. Okay, let's just a basic grammar law. Let me talk. So in English, you say put something, right? Or you say, or let's say turn something, right?
Like
It means
turn.
rotate something.
Okay.
Right? But when you say turn on something, it means start something. And when you say turn off something, it means stop something. Right? So they are all different, but the verb is one, turn, and the object is one, something. So when this something, when it is used turn on or turn off, the something definitely must be something that can be turned on and off. Extinguish and put on and this kind of that has to be done. That has to be. Otherwise, it cannot. The meaning is completely different. But when it is with turn, rotate. If you are saying turn. Turn to me, turn yourself, it means to face me, right? or to face from me, depending on what comes afterwards as well. So the verb with the this prepositions, the verse changes completely. In Arabic, it is the same. When you say daraba masala, which means beating an example. So daraba, the verb, and masala means example. To when together it is used, it means giving an example. But when you say daraba a human, daraba and a human, it almost always gives the meaning of beating someone. You see what I mean? But if it was saying فَضْرِبُوهُنَّ فِي بُيُوتِهُنَّ, for example, then it would be like this: beat them in their house, or leave them in their house. Because daraba can mean beating, hitting the wall, hitting the way, so hitting the road, you know.
Right.
In English we say hitting the road, right?
To hit the road.
So hit the road. So it can mean that as well. But unfortunately, it is not used with any other thing. It's clearly the verse seems clearly saying that the verb and the person. So wadribuhunna, done. Do you know what I mean? Although I appreciate Amina Wadud's approach, definitely it is important and it is very valuable that we see different perspectives. But personally, I think the verse is clearly saying that beating. That's my personal understanding.
We have that kind of introducing certain prerequisites before being able to punish certain things or being able to do some things. We see that in other verses as well. For example, in regard to committing sinner, Quran does not say whoever is sleeping outside marriage will be whatever, but Quran says, okay, and there need to be 4 witnesses. So there's a prerequisition, a condition, and conditions are a big part in the Quran, as I think, because they're introducing conditions for certain things seems to be something which was important during that time by Allah. So I think I agree with you that the most important thing is introducing the conditions before you can actually hit somebody.
And making it harder. You know, okay, she did something wrong. First, you need to warn her and wait. She does the same again, and then, and also some scholar believe that was a funny discussion. Two similar thing does not mean she's repeating the same mistake. The person repeats the same mistake if they do the same thing again in the same occasion, similar occasion, and in the same way.
I mean the verse says, "But if they obey you once more, seek no means against them." That means if the woman agrees to, okay, well, that was a mistake.
Yes.
After the first incident, then everything is away. So she can make another mistake, and she can then again be obedient without fearing to get hit. So actually, a woman who is actually telling the man, "Oh well, that was not very kind of me," or "this was not good," is actually protected by being hit, because there's a second condition in between the first and the third. So actually, it's impossible to strike a woman within marriage if the woman is a clever one, you know?
That's true.
I still have a huge problem with this was.
Sorry?
Yeah, but I mean, actually,
this was.
and
There's no amount of explaining that will make me feel like, oh, okay, I'm happy with that.
You are not happy with the verse. I personally am not happy with the verse. I
Nobody
believe
is.
that
Yeah.
this verse does not apply. That's something else. But
Yeah.
what
Mm.
when it came like the polygamy verse, it is clear.
Yeah.
Allah says four.
Yes,
I am
I just gonna
sorry.
say, I just gonna say the
Mm.
polygamous.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's so clear. Whatever you
it's
interpret,
impossible
it's
that
so
you could do it.
clear. No, no, and but the conditions, that's important. That's an
Yes.
important point actually. The
Mm.
conditions can make it impossible to do it if you are a righteous person. If you are
Mm.
not, you always find a way. The culturally man beats their wife, and then they say Allah gave us this right,
Yeah.
And and
although Allah does not give.
and actually, I need to add that because actually, I think that's also I'm thinking a lot, not always, but sometimes I'm collecting aspects of humor in Quran. Because I believe Allah is quite humorous with us in the Quran in certain parts, and I think those conditions, bringing up into certain conditions, is really, it's a tricky and sneaky thing in a
It's
positive and
satire.
cute.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
sure. If you can treat your wives equally, go ahead,
exactly.
please.
So that's I needed to add that because I really yeah, that's my kind of thinking. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, thank you guys.
Cool. Thanks.
Let's leave this discussion here and then continue with our Hans verse, shall we?
Yeah. Yes, we can. Yes, we
Okay,
can.
please. Which
Okay.
verse did you choose and can you
I
show us the screen?
I need to see if I can how I can share that. Let me see. I never did that before. Um, I have no idea how to do that. Um,
Okay, then go on.
well,
Tell us
anyway,
the verse
I
first. Which verse?
it's in German anyway. So
Okay. Which
it's
verse?
Surah 112 Al Ikhlas, and it's verse number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Yeah. So
Classic. Then yeah.
a classic. It's like a total classic. Therefore, the my homework was very quick because I found that one I found weeks ago. So there is a, let me see. There is a source. Um, it's a hadith which says that it's a hadith by Imam al-Sadiq, and it seems to be in the collection Bihar un Alvar.
Biharun al yeah.
Yeah, it's hadith number 9 in volume number 3, page 220. And the hadith or the source says that the Jews went to Muhammad and asked him he should describe his God. And after that he went silent for 3 days and didn't answer them right away. And then this surah, the whole surah, would be revealed. Um, and and then it was also exactly, and the surah was revealed, saying, "There, say, it is Allah the One." And it was said that the person who was asking was Abdullah bin Suraya, who was a Jew, and it was also said that Abdullah bin Salam um, asked uh, asked this in Mecca, and he converted to Islam after that. Well, Salam is not right. I think that's a typo. I think it's the same person.
No, no,
And
I was just planning to tell you afterwards. Finish, please.
yeah. And for that, there is a source in Tafsir Mizan. Mizan?
Mizan. Allah
Yeah. For that this person is Abdullah bin Suraya. All right, and also there's a mentioning that the Christians in Najran also asked this. Yeah, actually, that's the core.
But you said that surah differently. Did I misunderstand?
What do you mean?
I thought you said that you are gonna talk about the first verse of the Surah Ikhlas.
Well, yeah, it's obviously the let me see, the hadith. Well, the whole thing is I found it in the in a tafsir about the verse number 1. The hadith says that the whole surah was revealed, and then the hadith goes on, say it's Allah the One, and then it's end of the citation until the end of the surah. So obviously the whole surah was revealed in one piece, according to that hadith.
Yeah. But it seems very strange and a little bit problematic. So because we know this surah was not revealed in Medina.
No, it's a Mecca one, yeah.
Yeah, but Jews were not around, to be honest, in Mecca.
There were no tribes. That's right.
Yeah,
but there might have. I don't know. Perhaps there might have been Jews. I don't know.
Yeah. But they wouldn't come and reach and talk to Muhammad that necessarily. But there is some other verse. There's the verse, the Surah of Kahf, the cave.
Yeah.
Actually, there, the Surah of Cave, the Jews, the people of Mecca, pagans, goes to Jews and ask them, what can we ask Muhammad to see if he's telling the truth or not. Then Jews give them three things to ask him. If he says tells the truth about these three, they say then he might be the prophet. That narration is kind of, it seems to me it's about more with Surah Kahf than Ikhlas.
I don't know. Well, I have here a text, and the name of the asking person, the questioning person, the questioner, well, the person who is questioning is mentioned as Abdullah bin Suraya the Jew. Suraya, I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know any.
No, I'm trying to understand.
Yeah. So it was clearly mentioned that he was a Jew, and it was mentioned in that tafsir, the other one, the Tafsir ul-Mizan, that this question was asked in Mecca.
Okay.
So perhaps there was a Jew or two in Mecca asking questions.
There was, but they didn't have really a common meeting or talking with Muhammad. Generally, these meetings and talking, and Najran, it happens all of them. I'm sorry, Bobby, don't do that. Come here. Don't do that. Sorry, guys. She's eating the cartoon that I don't know why is she doing that. I'm sorry.
Does she listen to you like that?
Yes, she does. Anyway, yeah.
I can't.
Okay. Can we okay, here I misunderstand you, but you, when you were giving names, you gave two names. One Abdullah bin Suraya and the
Yeah.
other was Abdullah bin Salam, right?
Yeah, it's. I think it's a typo because yeah, it wouldn't make sense in my opinion.
No, it could. It could make sense. I just want to. That's why I was planning to give you an homework here.
Hmm.
Try to do a short research about Abdullah bin Salam.
Okay.
He is a supposedly he is Jew. So why am I giving to you before? Let me tell a little bit. Some scholars believe he did not exist.
Mm-hmm.
Some scholars believe actually it was he was created to blame on blame on him. In reality, historically, he doesn't exist. Just give a thought and do some research and see what he is being linked with. Generally, he is linked with some every weird stuff in Islamic stories. They say that Abdullah bin Salama did that. Oh, he did that, like this kind of. Oh, it's a funny situation actually. Just that would be a good homework, no?
Sounds good. Sounds amazing.
Okay. Okay, now then we are gonna finish our Asbab al-Nuzul this week. I am just trying to put my Okay. Ya Allah. Share screen. Do you see my screen?
It's loading.
Okay.
Yes.
So we talked about these parts, right?
Waymarks of God. Yes.
Yeah. Moise, you see, this is the guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is your guy, and we kind of, although we appreciate his works, we kind of criticized him last week. You remember, because he says he says in a way it's impossible to understand Quranic verses without. Although he also cannot bring as a reason for revelation for every verse, right?
True.
So. Yeah. Do you see now? Yeah. So the problem in identifying the reason or the background. Yeah, we talked about this part as well, right?
Yeah, we talked about this, Sean.
I don't know.
Yeah, we spoke about this.
Yeah. Yeah, let's go from here. So, sorry, Zarkashi. Sorry, guys, what happened? Okay, you remember Zarkashi? I told you in the first week we talked about him, importance of him in the Quranic sciences. So he says that one needs to be aware of the weak chains of narrations or fabricated ones, which is the most of them are actually, because about when they created in a way this scholarly work to find this reason of the revelation, many started to change the meaning of the verse with these ones. Like if the verse is saying A, the person would say, but yes, the verse is saying A, but the verse was revealed after this incident, so it does not apply to us now because it is about this incident. Which we didn't talk about that part as well. We although we mentioned in the beginning, we said that this can, if we dwell on too much in Sabab-i Nuzul, we can lose the universality of Quran and universality of the verses. So that's what they were trying to do. That's the reason, and also that's the reason they fabricated tons of hadith about the sabab nuzul, or the sha'n nuzul. So if there is no mutawatir or mustafid hadith, which we can be sure that it is correct about it is correct, and it is possibly from most probably from prophet or from sources, correct sources. If we don't have it, what we are gonna do, we just can rely on these narrations. But if they are going against Quranic verses or going against that what we know about the Quran, that then we can't rely on these, because they are not really trustworthy. And if they are saying something which, for example, this verse we discussed with Moise, the one Moise brought, it could seem okay unless it was clear that the guy followed the steps before. Otherwise, it seems not fully following the law of Quran, right? Do you know what I mean? So, for example, there is one of unacceptable hadith, common ones. So the Bukhari and Muslim states, the authority from the Musayyab, when death came to Abu Talib, the Prophet came to see him. Abu Jahl and Abdullah bin Abu Umayyah were with him. These two are quite evil people. The Prophet said, "Uncle, say there is no God but God, and I will rely on it as evidence in God's presence." And Abu Jahl said, and Abdullah said, "Abu Talib, do you have a distaste for Abdul Muttalib's religion? Do you not like what Abdul Muttalib performed in his religion?" So the Prophet said, "I will seek forgiveness for you, provided I am not told not to." So if a Prophet says, if I was told that don't ask forgiveness for Abu Talib, then I will not do. Then, according to this narration, afterwards, this verse reveals, it is not for the Prophet or those who believe to ask for a pardon for the idolaters, even if they are near kinsmen, after it has become clear to them that they will be inhabitants of the hell. So, according to this tradition, Abu Talib, the most merciful of from Prophet's family, the most merciful guy, the guy who helped Allah, the guy who in his last 3 years spent everything he had to save all the Muslims. The guy, you know his story. So according to this narration, this verse is about him. But it is clear from many other sources that Abu Talib died as a Muslim. So let's continue reading. What refutes this claim, or rather makes this fabricate clear? In fact, that Abu Talib died 3 years before the migration and was God's messenger's strong arm. So Abu Bakr, you know that Abu Bakr died in the Amul Huzn, it is called. It is the year of sorrow. In the same year, Prophet lost his wife Khadija and his uncle Abu Talib. Both were the only actually financially supporting and also powerful, authoritatively supporting Muhammad against idolaters. So Prophet lost two of them, and it happened around 3 years before the migration. And while this verse was revealed in the ninth year after the migration. So, if historically you do not believe, you do not know, it seems quite clear that the verse is about Abu Talib, right? Because it says, it is not for the Prophet and those who believed to pardon the idolaters, even if they are the near kinsmen, after it has become clear that they are the inhabitants of the hell. So here we see Prophet is saying that I will seek forgiveness for you, provided I am not told not to do. So it seems the narration fits perfectly in the verse, right?
Yeah,
But the only problem is, the only problem is the few problems. One, Abu Talib died as a Muslim, and the second, Abu Talib was one of the most helpful person in Prophet's lifetime. The third and the most important, he died 12 years before the verse. So that's very important. Sometimes the verse can come and we can say, oh, that's the, it seems so clear that the sabab nuzul is this, but then we realize that, oh, it is impossible this to be a sabab nuzul. This is not to mention about the abundant proofs of Abu Talib becoming Muslim, which we have cited in the book. Yeah. So when we are seeking when we are searching the of a verse, we need to be very careful about this. So it should be borne in mind that the reason or the background restrict the meaning of the ruling of this the verse to that particular occasion. Just as we discussed about that, because then sabab nuzul is something does not apply to us anymore at all, because this would limit the universality of Quran. The occasion is only a means to better understand what the meaning of the verse, or to create the contextual for us. This is from a traditional source, but for us to create better contextualizing, to be able to contextualize the verse and see where it and in what situation it was revealed. That is the important part for us. What matters is the general meaning of the word, not the specific of where it was used. So general meaning are more important than the way it was used. I am not sure I am very happy with this statement, by the way, because sometimes you can use a word and general meaning applies to A, but definitely from the background it is clear you use the word for something completely different. This happens in every language. That's why it is called that. Generally, especially racist people, when they say something unacceptably racist, they say, oh, my words were taken out of context.
Yeah.
Although this is quite unrealistic, but it is real that sometimes we took the word from out of context. Auhan, you might not know, but Moise would understand, like the general titles of Metro, the newspaper Metro or Evening Standard.
Yeah. But I know. Yeah. I understand.
Quite trashy newspapers. They are free and their titles are always misleading. But that's true. When you read,
I can tell you. I can confirm that because, of course, I'm the object of journalism here in Germany, and they do the very same thing with me. So they take some word like a verse out of my interview, and then they just take that because it's scandalizing the whole thing. It's
that makes that sells the newspaper.
Yeah.
So that's important. I believe the general meaning of the words are important, but not necessarily they can throw the context. However, we have to be very careful when we generalize. An example of it would be this verse. I'm gonna put you here, Auhan.
Yeah. Put me away.
As for the faithless,
I don't need to see myself.
it is the same to them, whether you warn them or do not warn them. They will not have faith. Allah has set a seal on their hearts and their hearings, and there is a blindfold on their side, and there is a great punishment for them. So what do you see from these two verses? It seems clear that we should not spend or waste our time with unbelievers, because they are faithless people, because whether we warn them or we do not warn them, they will never have faith, or because Allah sealed their heart, that's why they cannot have faith. So actually, is their faithlessness due to the fact that Allah had sealed their hearts, and then how can we claim that they are responsible for this? So Allah
Question.
sorry, yeah,
Question. What is the term for faithless in Arabic?
kafaru, kafir.
Okay. So this is a kafirun verse, right? Okay.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
not from kafirun, not from kafirun.
Okay.
It is talking about kafirs.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
So
Okay.
here you see, I cannot point. Sorry. It
No,
is
that's
this.
okay.
It
It's
is
okay.
this verse,
I
this word which is in the verb sense, past tense. The people who disbelieved.
Mhm.
So Allah Tabai believe that this verse is only about those who were unbelievers in the Prophet's time, who resisted even after the truth was clear for them, not any other unbeliever forever, like afterwards. This was an instruction to the Prophet to give up, so his soul would not be spent on distress over them. So Prophet was going to Abu Jahl like unbelievable times, going and going and going again and again and again and again and again, and after every time making it clear, Abu Jahl was making it clear that he knows that he is prophet, but still he will not believe in him. Prophet would still go to him, and then sometimes even because he was a human, he would sometimes neglect the other people who would come to him and learn. Prophet would sometimes neglect them, which we have another verse about this. Abasa wa tawalla. He turned his face and he frowned upon the guy. When a blind person comes to Prophet while he is talking, those those people, Abu Jahl and around, the Prophet just a little bit ignores him to continue to convince these the heads of the tribes. So this verse in a way clears everything for Muhammad alayhi salam to not to waste any time with those people anymore, because it's clear that they will not believe. So just don't waste. But can we apply this verse to anybody? Can we apply this verse to the non-Muslims? Can we tell them that because you are not Muslim, you know what? Allah has sealed your heart and your hearing and your eyes, so you can't even see the truth. No, because our responsibility is tell them, even though if they do not believe, if we know not for sure, definitely, but if we feel they will not believe, still it is our duty to tell them the truth, to show the truth to everyone.
May I add something?
Sure, please.
There is from my point of view, a spectacular idea in Germany from a female student, I would say. She's not an imam yet. I would love to have her in our courses. And she had the idea, actually, that if we are talking about kafir, we are talking not about non-believers who would deny Islam, but that when that word is used, it actually depicts people or talks about people who are actually unable to feel and to realize religion. And that would totally connect with that verse, with 2:7. Allah has set a seal on their hearts and their hearing, and there is a blindfold on their sight. That means they cannot actually feel and see the beauty of Islam.
Yeah, I understand.
And that would apply, and that's her theory. That would apply, for example, for people with narcissistic personality disorder.
Yeah,
So
but
her theory is that a kafir is not somebody who is deciding on just not believing to Islam, but actually because of his narcissistic disorder, not being able to. I think it's a very not provocative, but a very new or very we can discuss about that a lot because, in my opinion, there are a lot of things that are saying against that. But I think I wanted to add that, but because it's so interesting and so inspiring, um, and I urged her to do more research on that and actually go through all the mentionings in Quran and going into the research for that. I wanted to add that because I think it's a brilliant idea, although it might
it
not.
is, but it seems quite. Yeah, it seems quite. It takes the reality of the person having choose to not to believe. So, because if you say they are unable to believe, they are incapable of believing, then it's not their mistake. It's God's mistake that they cannot believe. Why would they be punished for the fact that they cannot believe?
But the
Also, from
question,
the word, the Arabic
well,
word.
the question,
Sorry.
yeah, the question for the punishment is, is it automatically that the punishment will be in the afterlife? Or is the punishment
Oh, no,
perhaps
no,
the
that's not the
fact that,
point.
yeah,
No, no,
okay,
that's not the point. If the punishment will happen or not, that's not what I am saying when I say punishment. When I
mhm,
say punishment, it is the fact that Allah talks about them badly. Allah criticizes them. Allah tells them that they are not good people. This is when I say punishment. It is in Arabic. It is ta'zir, like not condemns. When Allah condemns them, this
mhm.
is in this condemnation, how a person who is incapable of doing something, and with the fact that who is not responsible for his action, can be condemned.
because
Can he or she
because
be?
because this can be the punishment. If we think that the Quran and the message of God is a blessing and a support for people, so when Allah decides to make people unable to realize that, it's a punishment, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's a punishment for those who do not have any saying over it.
Yeah.
Maybe if Allah didn't seal their heart, maybe they would believe and they would enjoy this beautiful religion. But because Allah sealed their heart, this makes Allah very cruel, no? To me, I mean, it seems to me.
Well, the point is, well, okay, yeah, I agree with that. But on the one hand side, it looks like that. On the other side is that we cannot apply our human moral standards we have
To Allah,
automatically to Allah. Allah is greater. That means there might be a reason we have
definitely.
no idea about that, and that's actually challenging for us. So the
That's
challenge is the
I
challenge.
see that
Yeah.
part. I have a big problem with that because in that then if we cannot understand Allah, it's impossible for me to follow someone who I cannot understand. Do you see what
I
I
am
mean?
yes, I am with you. I am with you, and therefore I think the idea of Beate, as her name is so inspiring because it's challenged me and my ideas or our ideas, and that's good. I
No, it
really
is
like
good.
that.
It is good.
It's
Definitely, it
really
is good.
cool.
We need any kind of research, any kind of. That's great, but it
Mhm.
seems a little bit. I haven't read actually. I should wait and see the when it is done and see
Yes,
if
yes,
she has
me
proof,
too.
and maybe if it is true, then we accept it. If it is really the truth,
Yeah,
then
yeah,
we do
yeah.
not
I
fight
really,
against.
I'm really looking so much forward if she's able to do that because it would be very, very demanding, interesting, and challenging, and that would be awesome. Yeah. Anyway, I wanted to add that because it's so currently going on in with her, and I'm still working on her devoting time to that.
Okay.
Yes.
So we said that Allama Tabatabai challenges with the idea of this verse being universally to every disbeliever or non-believer. So he says it would not be surprising if what it meant by alladhina kafaru, that's the word used, those who disbelieved. Here are the chiefs of Quraysh and the elders of Mecca who stubbornly resisted and were unyielding with regard to the matter of religion, and spared no effort in that, because it is not possible to say this about all unbelievers. Otherwise, the door of guidance would be closed completely.
Yes.
True, this rule does also apply to those who are like them in terms of stubborn resistance and unyieldingness with regard to the truth once it has become clear. So it seems Tabatabai has a good point here when he says this verse is not about any disbeliever, not even actually. It is about the disbelievers in the past, but not even every one of them. That's important as well. Although he says it is about disbelievers of the time, not every one of them. It is the ones they were head of the tribes, and they were head of those people who were torturing the Muslims or hating Islam completely. The verse is about them, not every other people. And from the history, we see that actually almost none of them believed. Only one of them believed, but most of Shias do not believe he believed as well. That's another deep footnote. But even if he believed after the conquer of Mecca, seeing that with the fear of being killed. That's why he obeys, not believes. He obeys, actually, it seems. So from the verse, we see that those people who are stubborn to Islam and full of hatred and complete pure Islamophobic, possible they can convert. We are not saying that's impossible, but it is better to save our energy and our time with people who are have more tendency to Islam, or just they are not full of hatred. So that's why when we read Sabab Nuzul, we need to understand what the Sabab Nuzul is. Those verses were about the specifically Prophet's time, those people. So that's why we cannot apply those verses. Otherwise, still the Quran is universal. The verses are generally universal, but this verse is specifically talking about not wasting time with people who are clearly stubborn and do not listen you after many times. And there is another verse, actually very beautiful. When they face with ignorant people, they just say salam and go away. You know, this helped me a lot in my life generally. When I see too much debate with someone, and when I see that there is no hope anymore, or there is no I don't have any energy to continue this debate, because the person is just, you tell something and then they say but whatever you say, it doesn't matter. Everything you explain the question, they ask a question, you answer the question, but they say but, and then they ask the same question in different words. We not realizing actually it is the same question and we just answered. So what in this situation, just say salam, peace be upon you. Yes. Bye-bye. So I see the verse in that sense. So this will be the end of our session.
Okay.
This week. But the first, the homework, and I said that I would like you both to do a research about Abdullah bin Salama, the Jewish guy who some scholars believe do not exist, and see the evilness in Islamic history linked to him. Bring some examples about this. I know this is not really related to our topic, but because you brought the hadith about him coming asking, and it's an important knowledge to keep in mind and see. Sometimes we do some really evil actions. And do you want to say anything or add anything, guys?
I'm just confirming that the next class is on the 11th of December then?
Just let me see.
Like 2 weeks from now?
I am not sure. I think we don't have class, do we? Oh, we do. Why do we have class?
Yes, because we just put it there. Because why is that? Because
The next one we don't.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I just realized the next after.
Yeah, the one after Christmas.
The next session we don't have it because we have a speaker, right?
Yes, inshallah we have.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, then we have class in.
So that will be not in
11.
not in. So next one is in 2 weeks, and after that the next one will be in about 3 weeks or so. After that, yeah.
4
or fourth, yeah, something
because
like that.
I will be in France as well.
Mhm.
I will be joining to the retreats. Are you coming, Alhan?
I am not 100% sure yet. I'm still working. I'm still working on doing it. That would be wonderful. I need to check it out. The finances were not perfect these days, so I need to check if it's possible. Because I have a side job which gives me the money which I can actually spend on these kind of workshops and stuff. But October and November, it is a support job. I support somebody with being handicapped. And there was not a lot of work in October and December, in November. So I don't have a lot of money for out of that job. So we'll see. Inshallah, I will be able to make it. I need to sort with Ludovic anyway in regard to the teachers thingy also of the payment with the students. So Moise, if you have not paid anything yet,
he has from.
Did you? That's a good thing. Good one.
Yeah, I'm all paid up.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, guys, let's inshallah finish here. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Amen.
We'll see you in 2 weeks, inshallah. مع السلامة. Bye bye, guys.
And have good health to you. Recover.
Inshallah. I will try to recover. Yeah.